raised by the 3 judges. And now they have instructed me as follows: that the work of political mobilization to remove President William Ruto from office is complete, and there is no need for further political mobilization. They have now tasked me to engage of what in their view is of utmost priority: the identification of a single presidential candidate to face President William Ruto. They have asked me to move to Amonyoro and meet stakeholders, opinion leaders, and all the people who matter in our political formation to seek their mandate and authority to initiate negotiations with my core principles with a view of identifying a single presidential candidate. They have instructed me that having a single presidential candidate against President William Ruto is not negotiable and is the only way to liberate this country. And they have asked me to stick to that commitment. And I therefore want to assure the people of Kenya that regarding Gachagua, on instructions from his supporters, who are in millions, nearly 10 million people, who will lead from the front to identify a single presidential candidate to face President William Ruto. From our corner, we have 2 plans, Plan A and B, that we shall discuss with the stakeholders for 45 days. You will not see me anywhere in public rallies. I will be in Amonyoro, doing very, very serious, extensive consultations, because this is critical for the country. It's extremely critical for the country. We have 2 plans. Plan A is to mobilize support from across the country in the event that my colleagues and the formula we shall agree on favor me as the presidential flag bearer. Plan B, in the event that the formula does not favor me as a single presidential candidate, to get mandate from my supporters to, jointly with the other core principles, identify a single presidential flag bearer to face President William Ruto. I want to reiterate and firmly state to the people of Kenya that I remain committed to work with my colleagues in the United Alternative Government towards the cause of a single presidential flag bearer. I remain hopeful that I will be that candidate for the election of the presidency. I have the capacity and the muscle, I have the infrastructure and the presidential experience, I have the necessary networks and great mobilization capacity, numbers behind me, and a very good strategy for the presidential campaign. However, if any of my other colleagues is agreed upon, I give a very firm commitment to the people of Kenya that I, regarding Gachagua, and 10 million supporters behind me, we shall rally behind the agreed candidate to a man, and I, regarding Gachagua, will lead the presidential campaign, and I will lead in the political mobilization that has never been seen in the history of independent Kenya to make William Ruto a one-term president and restore the Kenyan nation and save the Kenyan nation from corruption, conflict of interest, state capture, erosion of democracy, extrajudicial killings, wanton sale of public assets, and the embarrassment that our country has faced for meddling in our foreign policy. I want to say we must get back our nation. I want to say that Kenyans have lost far too much to be quantified, and we cannot lose more. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka kuhakikishia Wakenya ya kwamba safari ya kutafuta kiongozi mmoja wa kupingana na William Ruto imeanza, na Rigathi Gachagua ndio ataongoza, and I'll do whatever it takes to mobilize my colleagues, to persuade them to make it possible to have one single presidential candidate. And I want to tell William Ruto and his supporters, it is I, Rigathi Gachagua, who mobilized 4 million votes to make him president. I will mobilize 10 million voters to take him home. And I also want to confirm to him and his supporters Much as they despise me, I made him president with my supporters. I and my supporters can make another Kenyan president. That they must know. And they must stop having entitlement. The fact that I and my supporters supported him then gives me no obligation to feel ashamed that we shall not vote for him. I want to confirm that if I'm not the flag bearer, I and my supporters will support another Kenyan. And I am committed. And I will do whatever it takes with my colleagues to make sure there is no division within the opposition, to make sure that everybody moves along, to persuade all my supporters to move along with me, that in case it is not me, I'll persuade all my supporters. All my supporters, including President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is my supporter, that all of us from our support base will put our vote in one basket in favor of the agreed presidential candidate, be it Rigathi Gachagua, be it Kalonzo Musyoka, be it Fred Matiang'i, be it George Natebea, be it Eugene Wamalwa, be it Edwin Sifuna, be it Martha Karua, it does not matter. Once we agree, and we shall agree, and I can tell you the commitment is total, we shall move on. I have left the issues of court now to my lawyers. I have no other responsibility from today. It is to make sure that we have one single presidential candidate against President William Ruto. Once that is achieved, I will then get back to the ground and start political mobilization. But in the meantime, after this weekend when I go to Western, you will not see me again in political mobilization. We are moving now into the phase of strategy to identify one single presidential candidate, and then after that is done, we start the work of political mobilization. Asanteni sana. Hakuna maswali. Nafikiri is very clear. Yeah, bana.
It's very clear.
It's clear. Very clear. Karibu.